Hello and welcome once again to a developer diary for Imperator Rome. It has been quite a while since we've had one of these because all of those Swedish people have gone on holiday. And now they're back, and now we get our lovely dev diaries back. And there's been quite a lot from Johan as well that I've been sharing with you in the news videos. So it's not like development is completely halted, but now this dev diary, it's basically expanding on something we already knew, and a little bit new information as well. So how about we just get into it? Right. Greetings all, now the summer hiatus is over. Dev diaries for the Cicero update will be getting back into full swing, starting with the explanation of a few features that we've been tinkering with recently. To start with, we'll be taking a look at the introduction of the categorization, goddammit, of territories. Prior to 1.2, all our base level administrative units were known as cities. As part of the redesign here, our collective noun for these will now be territories. Lovely. Finally, I was really wondering what they would end up calling it, but you know, territories, I guess that's fine. Yeah, I've got no real problem with it. That's fine. A territory can be assigned as any one of the following categories. A settlement. Representing a sparsely populated area of land, settlements have penalties to output, migration speed, and pop type ratio. Settlements will only support one building, but will have their own unique set of powerful buildings, so you can specialize them accordingly. Then we have cities. They have a large bonus to population capacity and will act as a focal urban centers for your empire. Cities will be able to support all the buildings you've grown accustomed to in the Cicero beta thus far, but will feel a lot more unique as a result of their scarcity. Cities will also have a penalty to trade good production. They will tend to consume rather than create resources. And then we have Metropolis. A metropolis can be designated when a city reaches a large number of pops and are considered the peak of a city's urban evolution. A metropolis will not have access to any unique buildings, but will improve living conditions for certain pop classes. Right, now before we go on, let's have a talk about the new territories. As I said in my previous video when I spoke about, the split between settlements and cities, I still think this is a huge change, and I am 100% in favor of it. I think it's a fantastic change. There are just a few little things that I would like to see maybe be a little bit different. So first off, with cities, they have all of the buildings available to them that we've had before, like the aqueduct, the temple, all this kind of stuff. I would sort of like to see that limited a little bit more than it is. Things like aqueducts, I would love to see that be something that can only be built if it is beside a river or beside some hills or mountains, that kind of thing. Because if you've got like a city that is surrounded by farmland, and that farmland is surrounded by grassland, and that grassland is surrounded by forest or whatever, some other kind of really flat terrain, and you build an aqueduct, where's the water coming from? It really doesn't make any sense. So I would like to see a few more limitations on those. Maybe making some of the buildings metropolis specific. Say Metropolis is there, or Metropolises, don't know, whatever. They don't have access to any unique buildings, and I think that's kind of missing a trick. At the moment, Metropolis just seems like a big city, and I mean, like he said there, it's the peak of a city's urban evolution. Let me have something a bit more than some living conditions for pop classes. It's fine. It's just having them feel more unique by giving them, oh, I've just been able to upgrade to a metropolis. Now I can build a imperial palace. Like, that would be cool. That would be really cool. That would give you a sense of pride and accomplishment. And then we'll get metropolises with loot boxes. No. But yeah, just a little bit more uniqueness would be kind of appreciated there. Anyway, let's move on, because settlement buildings, we've seen these before, but they have changed. So, we first have Latifundia, giving 40% local slave output, 25% local pop cap, and Latifundia are limited to territories where mines are not applicable. Now mines, -5 local slaves per good, down from 15 base, 25% local pop cap, requires marble, stone, precious metals, base metals, or iron. Lovely. I love this. I'm going to talk about this in a moment, but yes, perfect. Farm gives plus 50% local food modifier. I was so unbelievably right when I called that. -5 local slaves per good. -10% freeman ratio. 25% local pop cap. And requires vegetables, grain, fish, or livestock. It'd be nice if maybe this was extended and you'd also have olives in there and dates, because both of those are food as well. They could go on a farm, right? Either way, yeah, perfect, love it. Hill Fort, 20% local freeman happiness, 40% local freeman output, and 25% local population capacity. Interestingly, there's nothing here about fort level. And whether this is an oversight and should be like added here or not, I'm not too certain about. But if not, then that means that settlements won't be able to have forts, which feels wrong, which is why I'm kind of swinging towards this being just an omission. I hope so. Having to have a city to have a fort just seems a bit iffy, unless there is something new coming with regards to forts. Something like how the Romans can build military forts. Maybe that sort of thing is going to be the case across the board. And that's how you build forts in settlements, maybe? I'm not sure. But yeah, it's interesting. And then we have provincial legation giving 75% migration speed modifier and 20% local pop assimilation speed. Lovely, right. And what I want to talk about here is how I was quite worried that they were going to fall into a trap where cities would just be a straight up upgrade from settlements and you would kind of just want to spam cities everywhere. And that's not the case. That's really, really not the case. Mostly because, well, this here, the mine, -5 local slaves per good. If you have iron and it is in a city, that's terrible. That's really bad. You do not want that. You want those iron territories. Yeah, there we go. Those iron territories, you want them to be in settlements and you want to build that mine. Because -5 local slaves per good is huge for that, especially if there's still a bunch of inventions that you can take to increase that as well. Or I guess decrease that. Same with like base metals and precious metals. These are really important, well, precious metals mostly, really important trade goods that you want to have a lot of. And yeah, if they're in settlements, you can have a mine there. Similarly with a farm, if you want lots of vegetables, grain, fish, or livestock, -5 local slaves per good there as well. Like, that's really, really good. And it sort of makes me think that they didn't, well, it doesn't make me think that, it's just saying they didn't fall into that trap. You don't want purely cities, especially as cities have penalties to trade good production. So I'm assuming it's going to be something like +2 or even +5 local slaves per good. You'd need 20 perhaps to get the bonus. Whereas now it's like, 10 per bonus is really quite a huge increase. Or a decrease. You know what I mean, whatever. So yeah, I'm very happy that they didn't fall into that trap. And that you will want settlements. You don't want just cities everywhere. But yeah, that's really, really good. I like it. Alright, as is appropriate for the era, cities will be able to be founded from settlements, allowing you to shape the world to your own desire. An important part of this rework is the visual appearance of territories on the world map, whereas previously each territory showed buildings appropriate to the population of said territory. No, not quite right. Not quite right. Previously, each territory showed the buildings that were appropriate to the territory at game start. Even after culture converting an area, say the Romans conquered Gaul and converted it all to Roman, the buildings in Gaul would still look Gaulish and not Latin, for example. So that's a little bit wrong, but I'll let them pass. Only cities and metropolises will now have these, city graphics. And I'm torn on this, because on the one hand, making the distinction between them at a glance is hugely important. And now, from here, I can see very clearly Rome is a city or a metropolis, not sure which, could be either. Then the 4 cities surrounding it are cities, and then if you go further south, then Capua there is a city, and I can see at a glance that the 4 provinces between them are not cities. And that's important. Being able to see at a glance is really, really important. But on the other hand, it's taking away graphics from the map. I don't know. I really don't know. It maybe would have been nice if there was something else that was added in its stead. Maybe 2 or 3 buildings just dotted around, just to show, the settlement buildings or whatever. Ideally, what I'd love to see is, in the future, maybe if you've built a mine in a territory, then you would actually see a little mine in the settlement. Like that would be the ideal situation. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. We'll have to wait and see. I'm okay with it, but it's tearing me in half, let's say. Bit melodramatic there, but you know what I mean. Right. And then to accompany the city's rework, we're introducing the food mechanic to simulate the importance of a constant supply in the ancient world. A modicum of food will be produced by all territories depending on their terrain type. Food itself will be stored on a provincial level and consumed by the pops living within the province based on their type. In the beginning of the game, most provinces will likely be able to sustain their own population. However, as the population of territories increases and more cities are founded, they will start taxing the food supply of a province greatly. This brings me to the more intriguing aspect of the food system. Various trade goods such as grain, fish, livestock, and vegetables will now provide a flat increase to monthly food. This will be traded the same way as before. However, the importance of these goods to large cities should not be understated. As a burgeoning urban area such as Latium begins to grow, more and more food will be needed to sustain the population there. And yeah, if you think about it, Latium is like this area down to here, and I'd say just a little under half of the territories in this state, this province, are cities, so they're going to take a lot of food. So, where are we? We're here. Yeah, so we're going to need a lot of food for sustaining Latium. Food is at 250 out of a maximum of 1,100. The food cap is obviously you need granaries and such to store more food. I assume there's more to it than that as well. The population of this province consumes 648 food every 12 months, and they have no years of stored food. It is changing by plus 4.95, so they are able to keep it going. And so a population of 58 is eating 8.65 food. No, it's not eating 6.85 food, it's still producing that much food. Wait, so Rome, despite being a huge city, is still a net producer of food. Not only that, it is the largest net producer of food, whereas Veii is the one that is costing the most food. That's interesting. I would have expected to see Rome actually be a net negative on the food chart. That's interesting. That is very interesting. I mean, they don't even make food. They make cloth. So how is it a positive? That's interesting. I'm going to assume that that's just straight up wrong. I can't see how Rome is making that much food. Very interesting. We'll have to come back to that one, I guess. Yeah, no idea. Either way, of course, food is not solely a negative consideration. province food storage can be enhanced by constructing granaries in constituent cities or metropolises. Bonuses to population growth and local defensiveness within a province will be applied for every 12 months of stored food present in the province food supply. Empires focusing on wide play will not find the need to interact with this to a large degree, or at most, to focus on the core provinces within their realm. Naturally, food ties in strongly to warfare, with friendly units who would otherwise take attrition instead consuming a relative amount of food within a province. Additionally, if a province capital falls to an enemy, they will be able to use the food supply to prevent attrition for their troops. This makes me think that you're kind of going to want to protect your capital cities, or the province capitals. Especially if there are, say for example, Latium here. Rome is clearly the provincial capital, but Veii has a fort. So if you were to capture Rome, that's not going to be good for the food supply in Veii at all. And you can start sieging Veii without taking attrition. That's going to be, yeah, you're going to really want to protect those capitals, for sure. Maybe moving capitals to the provinces, to the cities that have forts is going to be a strategy from now on. Where are we at? There we go. Sieges, blockades, and occupation will reduce the food production of a territory, which in the case of provincial capitals will also reduce any imported food, eventually starving a province of its food supply. If supply reaches zero, a severe penalty will be applied to all cities within the state, rendering them much easier to siege and increasing the migration speed of pops within the province. I don't think that's painful enough. If you literally starve out a place, that should be instant surrender. You should really want to protect that food supply. It should be like, that's how sieges ended, is like starving people out. If an enemy was really determined to resist you and you were really determined to take it, you would just sit outside their walls and prevent any food from going in until they surrendered. It should be way, way more damaging to run out of food. Like that's maybe a little bit too lax. So Rome is now under siege, so it's losing a lot of food. Okay. Wow, that's a huge swing. That is a massive swing from +8 to -6, purely from being under siege. Interesting. Okay. As a secondary consideration, being over the population capacity in a territory will no longer be quite as severe as it previously was. It will gradually decrease the migration attraction in a territory and can be considered more of a soft cap than before. Okay, that makes sense. I like it. But yeah, I think food is, I mean, it's a fantastic addition to the game for sure. I think they're going a little bit light on it. Like, make me really, really fear running out of food. Make it absolutely painful. And something you really want to protect. That would be quite nice, I think. But anyway, that is Dev Diary, and I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. So please do leave them there. If you want to keep up to date with all the Imperator Rome news coming out of Paradox, then feel free to click the subscribe button, because I post all of the news. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.